into our grand prize drawing. And we have tons of community partners that have donated some really cool prizes like gift cards, gift certificates, and things like that that families can earn by logging their reading.
We just want to make sure that people are aware you are welcome to come to the library now. We are doing our best to take safety precautions as people return to our buildings. We're asking people to wear masks when they come in the building. They're going to be required of staff and customers. We are doing our best to sanitize our facilities as often as we can.
We interrupt our regularly scheduled program to bring you this important announcement from Orange County government.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the November 9th, 2020 meeting of the Orlando City Council. This is our first physically present meeting in about 6 months, and unfortunately I am still virtual. Last week I found out that I'd been exposed to somebody who subsequently tested positive for COVID early in the week. I've consulted my physician. I've had a couple of tests. I had one at the end of last week that was negative. I had a rapid response test this morning that was also negative, and I haven't had any symptoms, but we know that the COVID can incubate for some time period. So I'm going to continue to self-quarantine for another day or so. That'll bring me to 8 or 9 days. But I want to stress again, this just is a great example that we have to continue our pandemic precautions, wearing masks and socially distancing. And if you have come in contact with somebody doing what I'm doing, which is staying at home and conducting my business over the computer. Okay, Commissioner Stewart, would you honor us with the invocation and the pledge today?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. I have to mute even when I'm in the chambers. As many of you know, one of my favorite Bible verses comes from the letter from Paul to the Philippians. And I'll start with that with a short prayer. Finally, I apologize. Let me say this is appropriate for this time. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And will you pray with me, please? Almighty God, may your grace cover each aspect of this meeting. We pray that all voices will be heard and that we will have a mindset of inclusivity. May this be a safe place for people to express their opinions and a place where ideas matter more than titles. May everyone be engaged and involved, and may all concerns be addressed. And may each member of this gathering feel valued. And may we each recognize the skills and knowledge that each person brings to this table. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
one
nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I know.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll and make a determination of the quorum, please?
Here.
Madam Clerk, you're muted.
There you go.
Commissioner Ortiz?
Here.
Commissioner Stewart?
Here.
Commissioner Sheehan? Commissioner Hill?
Here.
Commissioner Burns?
Here.
Mayor Dyer?
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum with all members present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First order of business is minutes in the agenda review and city council meetings.
So moved.
Second.
18th. Motion by Commissioner, second by Commissioner Hill. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, we don't have any awards and presentations. So that brings me to the mayor's update, a couple of general items. I want to wish Commissioner Gray a belated happy birthday. His birthday was last Friday. Commissioner, I hope you had a great day, and thought if we continue our tradition and serenade him with a little happy birthday. Happy birthday
To you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Commissioner. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
Thank you. Very unimpressive, but thank you very much.
I would agree with you there, Commissioner Gray. We had a good day and a good weekend. This Wednesday is Veterans Day, and although we're not hosting our annual parade because of COVID, I want to ensure that we recognize and thank all of our city's veterans. Please know that our community is grateful for your bravery, your patriotism, and your service. And we made the tough decision not to host the Veterans Day Parade, but I think that's the right decision. And our Veterans Advisory Council will participate in a nonprofit veteran service organization, Soldiers Angels, monthly mobile food distribution, and they will provide food to over 270 veterans families for the upcoming holiday season. And I just want to mention one item of note on the consent agenda. That's housing number 1, which is COVID CARES Act funding to the Coalition for the Homeless for the rapid rehousing program that moves people out of shelters and into permanent homes. And right now, residents are experiencing homelessness, and they are some of our most vulnerable. So doing what we can do to get them into permanent housing is important. And this grant should help 160 people move from temporary shelter to permanent residences. With that, we'll move to the consent agenda. And the consent agenda is a number of items acted upon through a single vote of council. We give each of our commissioners an opportunity to comment on items on the consent agenda, as well as update you on important happenings from the district. We rotate the order that we do that, and today Commissioner Stewart is first up. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. A couple of things I'd like to begin with. The first is I want to thank everybody for voting. We had the highest number of votes ever cast in an election in the state of Florida. In the United States, and the highest percentage since 1876. So I'm very I'm thrilled about that, and thrilled that our citizens are being engaged in the process. I think that's more than anything else. That's what our country stands for. I also want to say the second thing is our country stands for Veterans Day, and a special Veterans Day tribute to those this Wednesday. Please take a moment and remember your veterans. If you know some, call them personally, especially during this time. Make sure you have an opportunity to thank them for their service. Saturday, I had the opportunity to attend the last rites ceremony for July Perry. Commissioner Sheehan, thank you for filling in. You did a great job. This was something that was not done 100 years ago, and an opportunity for us to honor the life of July Perry and what he means so much to our community, and what he stood for in terms of the right to vote. So thank you for that, Commissioner Shea. I know you'll share some more. On some upcoming events, let me share a couple of things. Lou Gardens is offering free admission on Wednesday for Veterans Day. That's a big thank you to Cole Naismith for his creative team working on Creative City Project, and along with Advent Health to bring a new experience to Lou Gardens starting December 1st. So it's a Dazzling Lights, it's called. It will allow guests to have a full interactive holiday experience with lights and music and even snow. So check out lougardens.org for more information. And in light of that, we also had a great few months with our fairy gardens. They have all the fairies have now gone away, so they will come back again next year, I think. And in addition to that, right after Christmas, the dinosaurs are going to be invaded. So excited about what's going on at Lee Gardens and all the great things that are going on there. Our main streets are also working hard to bring us a socially distanced event for this holiday season, like Virginia Drive Live in the Ivanhoe Village in the Mills 50, Shop Small Saturday in Audubon Park, and in College Park. Check out their stuff for their own websites or their social media for details. I want to say a special shout out to College Park Main Street. This past weekend, they did what would be their replacement for Jazz Fest called College Park Spark. They did a great job. I thought they did a good job handling the crowds, making sure people were social distance and moving people up and down the drive. And it was a lot of people that turned out, but they all were very well socially distanced. I'm very happy about that. And the only thing I want to mention on the agenda is item. I think it's. Is it A? I marked it wrong. I apologize. So I'll get to it real quickly. I think it's item I4. I was going to say A4. Item I4 about the Department of Corrections, the new agreement or the renewed agreement. Thank you, Rick, for the work that you've done with that, Rick Howard. I think it's going to be an asset to us, and now we've got it back up and running. We'll see some more, some results of that in terms of cleaning up around our community. So thank you very much for that, Rick. I appreciate that. And that's all that I have on the consent agenda, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. We'll move on to Commissioner Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer. This is the first in-person city council meeting since March. I do not believe this is safe or that it sets a good example for community responsibility and safety. The governor controls how government in the sunshine is conducted. It only applies to county and municipal governments, which a lot of people don't realize. It is enforced upon us and our volunteer city boards. Even though virtual meetings have increased citizen participation and are safer and more responsible way to conduct business, we are not given the authority to continue in that manner. I want to make it clear to my constituents and to people in the city of Orlando, this virus is not over. 17,014 Floridians have died of coronavirus. Last Friday, we had 307 new cases that were confirmed. Please continue to work from home if you can. Continue to wear your masks and avoid large crowds. I know many people were very upset in Orlando about the Halloween festivities and that we should not have opened the streets up to revelers. And you are correct, it was a mistake. Even though this council had no input on the decision, it is important that we work to make sure it does not happen again. We are our brother and sister's keepers, and we must act responsibly to stop the spread of this virus. Even if state leadership shirks their responsibility, stay safe, stay healthy, stay home if you can. Thank you to all the essential workers who continue to serve. Let's make their jobs easier by stopping the spread of coronavirus and acting responsibly. Over the weekend, the Orlando Masonic Lodge performed the last rites for Mr. July Perry at Greenwood Cemetery, who was lynched when he tried to vote 100 years ago. Mr. Perry was a prominent business owner and landowner. His death was followed by the Ocoee Massacre, which drove many families in this mostly black community from their homes. There is an excellent exhibit at the Orange County History Museum that chronicles this dark day in Orange County. I want to thank the members of the Orlando Police Department who worked tirelessly to make Mr. Perry's ceremony happen and to make it so meaningful. Thank you very much. And on the agenda today, a lot of people in my community are aware that the Parliament House, which is a long-standing icon in the community, did close over the weekend. And I want to thank the Mayor's Office and Frank Billingsley for working to save the Parliament House sign. It's not just for the gay community, it's actually one of the last motor lodge signs and neon signs, and there are other communities who have worked to do neon museums, and I think it's appropriate to kind of save some of our historical icons. So I want to thank Frank Billingsley for his work on that. Also on the agenda today, the red light running system, 30 additional cameras. I think that's really important to safety in our community, and I know District 4 has a lot of items on the agenda today, so I'll hold my comments until we have them coming up. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hill?
Thank you, Mayor. And first, Mayor, I'd like to say thank you for your leadership during COVID and also for your transparency. As a mayor of one of the, I think, most powerful cities in the Southeast region, for you to say that you have came in contact with someone that had COVID and be transparent about that says a lot about your leadership. And we're continuing to stand with you and by you and prayerful for you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, sir. And with that being said, today we vote on leadership of this council with our Mayor Pro Tem and Assistant Mayor Pro Tem. So I'd like to congratulate Commissioner Stewart and Commissioner Sheehan for your leadership here on this council. Also, I'd like to say thank you to the veterans that serve here in the city of Orlando at City Hall and all the veterans throughout the city and county, especially to Chief Rolone. Thank you for your service, sir, and Commissioner Ortiz. And I'll also thank myself if that's appropriate. I was Navy, go Navy. Also, on October the 24th through 25th, I partnered with Commissioner Sheehan, and along with several community organizations led by our clerk, Tiffany Moore Russell, alongside Commissioner Bakari Burns, Equal Grounds, the AACCC, Florida Right Restorations Coalition, and the SED for amazing turnout for our Central Florida Vote Fest, where it was held from Friday until Sunday with phone banking, with canvassing, and also bringing people to that line. I'd like to thank Orlando Magic, the LeBron James Foundation, this council, and Mayor Dyer for opening up the Amway Center there in the Paramore community. I think it was very successful. We had over 15,000 residents come out for early voting there at the Amway Center. I echo Commissioner Stewart's sentiments stating about the high turnout of voters here in Orange County and throughout Florida. On October the 27th, we held an outreach meeting with Valencia College for the accelerated job training classes in partnership with the city's Blueprint 2.0. It was done virtually. It was well attended, and where they're offering over 25 different certificate programs from 2 weeks to 26 weeks that pay high wages. And I'm excited to say that since our partnership with the Urban League through the Blueprint 2.0 last year, October to current, we have graduated. It was said 30 earlier in the gender review team, but we have graduated over 85 city residents throughout all the districts, not just District 5, but from District 1 all the way to District 6. And as it was stated, the job placement rate is over 98.5%. So not only are we graduating residents, we are making sure that they have jobs after they graduate. Myself and Mayor Dyer, it was stated here some weeks ago, held a virtual meeting where we graduated over 32 city residents, and they had some amazing testimonials. On October 28th, I was happy to attend a ribbon cutting down in the new Creative Village for RTW Photography, which is a new minority-owned business. And what they do is a full-service photography program and company. They're young, creative millennials of African-American descent. And they have an office also in Atlanta. And I thought it was just so powerful that they decided to build another brand in the Paramore Creative Village, where we are trying to make sure that our millennials and those that are minorities have a part in the process of the revitalization of Paramore. That evening, I was a guest panel with the young and upcoming lawyers of FAMU Law School, and we discussed the state of America and what's happening in our communities. We had over 70 law students on that Zoom meeting. They had great questions and was really aware in all phases of government and community. So I just like to applaud them for putting that panel together and allowing me to be a part of it. October 29th, myself, Mayor Dyer, Commissioner Stewart, Commissioner Ortiz unveiled the new Limo electric bus. It's the first bus of over 50. Of course, we know about the mayor's energy plan and our carbon zero net free, is that correct, Chris? Initiative by 2050. So we're well on our way, and thank you, Chris, for your leadership in that. I know many of you all possibly have heard about the residents at Riviera Villas there in the Mercy Drive area, We had an emergency meeting. It was related to some code issues and evictions during the pandemic. I'd like to thank Linda Ryan-Smith, also our officers from OPD for that area, Miss Ada Martin from the Metro Realty Company, and the residents that came out to our Northwest Center. A special thank you to the Salvation Army and the Christian Catholic Services organization. They are helping these residents with their rental arrearage and code enforcement through Corey Keith and Mike Rhodes are working with the residents and the owners to make sure that we have quality and safe housing for all. So we are working with those residents to make sure that the thing that we want most for all residents is quality housing. On Friday, November the 20th, I partnered with Second Harvest to have over 300 meals for parents and students there at Jones High School in District 5. You can go to my Facebook page and learn more about the details. On November the 23rd at 9 a.m., I've partnered with the Orlando City Soccer Foundation and Publix to conduct our annual Thanksgiving food giveaway at Exploria Stadium. This particular giveaway is only for District 5 residents and those in the Paramore corridor. You can contact my office and you must register due to COVID. It will not be, it will be walk up, but it will be under time slots so that we can properly socially distance. But on that same day, that afternoon at 3 p.m., we partnered with Orlando Magic, Public, and Second Harvest to serve over 800 families with Thanksgiving meals, and their players and their foundation will be there. And that will be at the Northwest Community Center. And you can call 407-246-2005 or go to the City of Orlando Commissioner Regina Hill Facebook page to learn more about that. And that is for all residents here in the city and county. That's all residents, the partnership with Orlando Magic. On November 19th at 3 p.m., it's that time of year, Thanksgiving, I'll be attending the Thanksgiving food drive there at Camping World Stadium with Simply Health, Magic Johnson, and House Representative newly elected Tavares McCurdy. I do have a few things on the agenda, if that wasn't enough, Mayor. Sound like days of old, I'm certain. It's our Parks and Rec. I'd like to thank Lisa Early, Rodney Williams, and the whole Recreation Department about the $1.5 million that will be going to our Central Florida Trust to help organizations in District 2, in District 5, and District 6 with the expansion of the Paramore Kids Zone. If you all remember, the Paramore Kids Zone is a initiative that Mayor Dyer started in 2005 when he saw a need in Paramore to address youth violence, youth pregnancies, STDs, being undereducated, and many of the issues that we have in most urban cores throughout America. And that program has been so transformational there in the Paramore area, to where we wanted to replicate that in other urban sectors of the city of Orlando. Just last year when, at the beginning and conception of that Paramore Kids Zone, children wasn't graduating. And I'm proud to say, through Mayor Dyer's leadership and the community's participation, that we had over 30 seniors in our Paramore Kids Zone, and all 30 of them went on to matriculate to higher learning or to the military. So we had 30 students that were seniors, and all 30 of them were successful and completed their tasks and now are well on their way. Matter of fact, we were at a function here about a week or so ago, and it just did my heart so well, and I'm certain Mayor Dyer, where a young man had the opportunity of his lifetime to introduce President Barack Obama, and he grew up right there in Paramore in our housing developments for low-income families of Griffin Park. And now he is now over at the University of Florida, Vice President of Student Government, and just thriving. And these are the stories and the monies that we pour into these communities, and just to see this happen over in Inglewood, over in Holden Heights, in Paramore, and now in our Mercer Drive corridor where there's so much need. I really appreciate this council support and all that you're doing to make sure that we level the playing field and close these gaps. So thank you so very much. And the socioeconomic piece. I do want to thank Rick Howard, as Commissioner Stewart stated, with that landscaping piece to continue to make our roadways and byways beautiful and keeping it well maintained with the partnership with the Department of Corrections. But I do want to see us focus in not a different direction, but an included direction, Rick and Mayor and Council, to where many of the times, and I'm certain Bakari get this also, Commissioner Burns get this also, to where many of our constituents say that they worked on the roadways while they were in prison, but when they come home, they can't get a job on the roadways. So we can also focus on how these guys are working free for the Department of Corrections, and we pay them, the Department of Corrections, that we can work with our work release programs and maybe reacclimate those that have been on these roadsides to do some roadside work with some of the temporary agencies that we're now incorporating to assist us with this. So I would like to talk a little bit more about that and see how we can put that additional program in place to work with work release, specifically focus on those men that have been working on the roadsides with free labor. It's nothing that I really support, but I think it's needed. You know, it's almost time, and I'm not saying anything negative about Department of Corrections, but it's, you know, we got to stop working these people for free in prison, and when they come home, there's no opportunities for them. So let's see how we can work with the Department of Corrections on that piece to make sure that after they come home, they have some of the jobs with the partners that pay them to put them on the roadside so that we can stop recidivism. And with that, I'm completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Burns.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mayor and fellow commissioners. This past month, I had the opportunity to sit and talk with Chief Rolone and staff about crime and youth violence in District 6. So I'd just like to say thank you, Chief, for updating me on the work that OPD is doing to keep our residents safe and being a great community partner. Also, I want to briefly thank the residents for coming out to Vote Fest. As Commissioner Hill just mentioned, thank you to everyone who participated and learned about what was on the ballot for this most recent election. And then again, thank you to Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Sheehan for their participation in that event. On Tuesday, October the 27th, I had the awesome opportunity to speak with students from Jones High School about the importance of being civically engaged and participating in the election that just passed. Students from Jones who were eligible to vote marched from Camping World Stadium to the Amway, and Commissioner Hill participated as well. And some of them who voted for the first time. So it was great to see that happening as we're encouraging our high school students to get involved and even to pre-register to vote. Also proud of my alma mater and even prouder of the students for voting and being part of our democracy. This past Saturday, had the opportunity to partner with Walgreens to offer free flu shots to our city. Our community continues to be hit hard by COVID-19, and we want to make sure that we are doing all we can do to keep them protected. So providing flu shots for our residents was one way of doing that, but we must continue to wear our masks, listen to health experts and instructions from our elected leaders, and practice good hygiene by washing our hands for at least 20 seconds. And while the flu and COVID-19 are very different viruses, some recent studies show that if someone gets the flu shot and then subsequently contracts COVID-19, they have a better health outcome. They're less likely to have to be hospitalized, as well as less likely to have to be admitted to the ICU. So again, I just encourage everyone to get the flu shot. I got mine this past Saturday, and so we want to just encourage everyone to remain safe. Also, I want to thank the city for coming to the Smith Center 4 times and testing hundreds of residents. Earlier this summer, I asked the mayor and the city to test more in District 6, and they did just that. Thanks, Mayor, for your leadership. Our great and wonderful Orlando firefighters for conducting the testing, staff for putting these testing events together weekly, and for our residents who actually came out and took advantage of this testing opportunity. Also, I'd like to thank Second Harvest Food Bank for their partnership with the city in providing food boxes for our residents in need. The boxes that were delivered to the Smith Center for our community have been a big help to all who individuals contacting my office needing assistance. Also, we'll be partnering with Second Harvest on the 21st for a free food drive-through, where we'll give away turkeys, sides, and other items to our community. And this event will take place at the Dr. James R. Smith Center starting at 10 o'clock a.m. Also, I'd like to say thank you to all of our veterans for your service. And then lastly, I'd like to mention that I had the opportunity to attend the Orange County Regional History Center exhibition, where yesterday this was home, and I attended with Mayor Dyer. And I just encourage everyone to take their families to this great exhibition. It was very impactful, educational, and well done. And my fellow Jones High Tiger wanted me to mention that Jones High School is undefeated for the first time in 125 years, and I must say
we beat Edgewater.
We did beat Edgewater a couple of weeks ago, but we still love you, Commissioner.
Nice try, but I just want you to know that we beat Boone, so that's okay.
Okay.
Bring that smack talk, but Orlando City is also in the playoffs.
That's true. That's true. We all can cheer that.
All right, and then Mayor, for the consent agenda, I'd just like to mention my support for items A4, agreement with Dave's House for the feasibility study to increase access to permanent housing services for our community members who are experiencing homelessness. Dave House has been serving Central Florida community for several years, and they offer great services. So I'm excited to support this item. Also, for consent agenda items A6 and A7, definitely support the workforce training and look forward to the continued great work of the Urban League in this area. And with that, Mayor, that completes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. Things happening in District 1 are on my website. Just wanted to talk about a couple of things on the agenda, given the fact that it's a full agenda. And really 3 things. So 2 of them kind of go together, and that's A1 and A3. I want to congratulate Chris and his team. A3, in my opinion, is a good program where we are incenting the private sector to build environmentally sustainable properties, and if they do that according to some of standard rules that are across the country, they get an incentive. And I think that's exactly the right thing to say. I must admit, I'm a little bit concerned about A1, where we're declaring an emergency, climate emergency. Look, we all know we have climate change, but for every report I read that says we have an emergency, I read another report that says it's not as bad as we think. And my position is, I don't think the scientific community knows. We know there's a challenge, but we don't know to what extent. And so all I would say is, I hope we don't allow a sector of our group to push an agenda on us. Let's follow the science. And we've heard that comment before, and I'm all in favor of that. So, but I like A3, and I think that's a good step. And we've done a lot of good sustainable initiatives on this council. I've supported them, and I think we're doing it the right way. So, Chris, congrats to you and your team. Also wanted to talk about C16 real quick, and that's the incentive agreement out for Lilium Aviation out in Lake Nona. Just want to remind everybody, as I remind myself, when we see these incentive agreements, we got to remind ourselves, companies looking to come to the city have options. And names I'll bring up: KPMG, USTA, the VA Medical Center, UCF College of Medicine, Johnson & Johnson, Simcom, HCA Hospitals, BBA Aviation. Those companies all have a lot of people courting them, and they have options. And so I think what we do, which I think we do a very good job as a council and as a staff, is look at what's our investment and what kind of return do we expect on that investment. And in this one, we expect plus or minus 140 jobs of about 65,000 and up in salary. That's what we need. We need better paying jobs. And so I think our investment, us priming the pump to help this works with some tax rebates, is absolutely the right thing to do. And I totally support it. So thanks again for our team for working with the folks out at Tavistock and Lake Nona to help that happen. So with that, Mayor, that's the end of my comments. Thank you, sir.
And it also should be emphasized, Commissioner, on rebates. That's on value that they're generating. We're rebating money that would not or otherwise be there. So we had somebody at General Appearance suggest that we could just take that money and spend it on other things. If that company doesn't come, that revenue is not available. Because
excellent point. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, here we go. On Tuesday, October 20th, we began our Government Academy class via Zoom. I want to thank the instructors who have assisted us this far. Ms. Lynn Tipton from the Florida League of Cities University, the director to it. Ms. Elia Torres, Special Assistant to Orange County Mayor Terry Demings, and Ms. Carol Palacio from the Office of Orange County Economic Trade and Tourism Development. They all have contributed their knowledge to our students, and I am thankful for their willingness to join us year after year to educate our residents. On Thursday, October 29th, my team and I had the opportunity to visit Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts to tour the Steinmetz Hall in its final stages of construction. I'm excited to see what kind of opportunities the new addition brings to the city of Orlando as one of the most uniquely designed high-performance music and entertainment halls in the nation. This Saturday, November 14th, my team and I will be joining the Englewood Neighborhood Center to celebrate the kickoff of the holiday season with complimentary turkeys and masks. For those of you who would like to attend, this is a drive-through event, so please stay in your cars. Everything is first come, first serve while supplies last. And for more information, you may contact the Englewood Neighborhood Center at 407-246-4453. I'll be remiss if I do not congratulate Rick Howard and his Public Works team. They're doing a wonderful, wonderful job around the city, fixing sidewalks, streets, and curbs, doing a beautiful job, and very well done. And on item A3, I want to congratulate Chris Castro. That's definitely a great item for the city and as a whole for the movement in sustainability. So he's been doing a great job, and there's a lot more to come. So I'm very excited about that. So thank you, Chris. And I just want to wish every veteran out there, and we forgot Commissioner Jim Gray, who's also a veteran, and happy Veterans Day on Wednesday. Oh, and with that, I move to approve the agenda.
Motion by
Second.
Second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, new business, election of mayors pro tem, Mayor Pro Tem 1 and Mayor Pro Tem 2. I will open the floor to nominations for, or a nomination for Mayor Pro Tem 1.
Mayor, I'd like to nominate Tony Ortiz as Mayor Pro Tem 1 for next year.
That's not the order.
Do I hear a
It's not
second?
the order.
That's not the order.
He's the second now.
It's not the order.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yes?
order.
He's the second now.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
The
you.
list I have
It's
is-
Stewart, I
I
got.
thought you were two.
Yeah.
I'm 1,
He's one.
You one and Patty Sheehan's two.
and Tony's 2.
No, I'm not two. Well, you know we're doing this in the sunshine, right?
Okay, according to the clerk's office, it should be Commissioner Ortiz as Mayor Pro Tem 1 and Commissioner Gray as Mayor Pro Tem 2.
Oh, okay. That's not what I heard. I'm sorry, y'all.
I know Ortiz is number 2 now because he
Then I
never
will-
shows up.
Then I will second that for Commissioner Stewart. For Commissioner Ortiz.
Okay, to clarify, the motion is Commissioner Tony Ortiz for Mayor Pro Tem 1. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion
Mayor?
carries. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and thank
Mayor?
you, Chief.
Mayor, who was the second?
Yes. Commissioner Sheehan.
Okay.
Now how about a motion for Commissioner Gray for Mayor Pro Tem 2?
I'll make a motion, Commissioner Gray.
Second.
And a second?
I'll
Second.
second
Okay,
it.
I got
2 second. You know.
Ortiz motion, Burns second. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Mayor Pro Tem 1 Ortiz and
Well, Mayor,
Mayor
in
Pro
that
Tem.
case, my
you, Mayor.
opening was I congratulated Commissioner Stewart and Sheehan. I take it back.
You can't take it back. You already said it. You can't take it back. You have to keep it.
Like I say, there's no collusion on that one.
No, certainly not. Okay, let's move on to hearings, ordinances, first read number 1, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2020-57, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's adopted growth management plan by amending policy 1.3.1 and policy 1.3.6 in the public schools element, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, and effective date.
Second?
Who made the motion?
Sheehan.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak on this matter?
No, Mayor.
Discussion among commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, number 2, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2020-58, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending section 62.499 of the Land Development Code to create the Soto Special Plan Area, creating Part 1L, Chapter 65 of the Land Development Code to establish the Soto Town Design Review Committee, amending Chapter 66, Section 66.200 of the Land Development Code to provide definitions relating to the Soto Special Plan Area, establishing a special plan overlay zoning classification on certain properties generally located south of Lake Lucerne, east of Interstate 4, west of Summerlin Avenue, and north of Lake Jenny Jewel. Authorizing amendment of the official zoning map, providing legislative findings, and for applicability, severability, codification, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify, Madam Clerk?
No, Mayor.
Discussion among commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner, this ordinance that we just voted on requires a public hearing after 5 o'clock unless we vote by supermajority to hold the second public hearing at our normal city council meeting time. Staff recommends that we hold the second hearing at our regularly scheduled city council meeting beginning at 2 o'clock on December 7th, 2020. Do I hear such a motion?
May I move that we move it to the regular meeting?
Second.
Okay, I got Commissioner Ortiz first, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, let's move to hearings, ordinances on second reading. Madam Clerk, number 1.
Ordinance number 2020-39, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, rezoning certain land generally located south of Beltway Commerce Center Industrial Parks between State Road 417 and Young Pine Road and comprised of 243.1 acres of land, more or less, more from general industrial in part, general industrial with the aircraft noise overlay in part, conservation in part, and conservation with the aircraft noise overlay in part, to plan development with the aircraft noise overlay district in part, plan development in part, providing for development plan and special land development regulations of the plan development district, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Stewart. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone wishing to testify?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay.
We have Jonathan Hewells. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, Mayor. This is Jonathan Hewells with the Lowndes Law Firm, 215 North Eola Drive. Just here to concur with recommendation. Appreciate it. And to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? No, thank you. Discussion among commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, number 2, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2020-42, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's growth management plan to amend the future land use map designation for certain land generally located north of State Road 528, south of Beltway Commerce Center, east of State Road 417, and west of the Orange County landfill, comprising approximately 243 acres of land, more or less, amending future land sub-use sub-area policy as .39.5, providing for amendment of the city's future land use maps, providing for amendment of the city's growth management plan, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Stewart. Madam Clerk.
We have Jonathan Hewells, also available for questions.
Yes.
Are there questions? No? Okay, thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 3.
2020-53, an ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, granting a petition to expand the boundaries of the Story Park Community Development District as initiated by the district's Board of Supervisors, amending ordinance number 2019-50 to expand the boundaries of the Story Park Community Development District, which is generally located east of State Road 417 and north of Moss Park Road, in accordance with said petition, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Madam Clerk.
We have Kristen Trucco.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Kristen Trucco of Latham, Luna, Eden, and Bodine here on behalf of the petitioner. I can answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Any questions? Discussion among commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, number 4, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2020-55, an ordinance granting to Duke Energy Florida, LLC, doing business as Duke Energy, a non-exclusive electric utility rights-of-way utilization franchise, prescribing the terms and conditions related to the occupancy of municipal streets and rights-of-way in the city of Orlando, Florida, for the purpose of providing electric service, providing for severability of provisions, and providing for an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Burns. Madam Clerk, do we have any testimony?
No, Mayor.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, we'll move to ordinances on first read.
Ordinance number 2020-54, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's adopted growth management plan by updating figure CI 14 to be entitled City of Orlando 2020-2025 Capital Improvements Element Capital Improvement Fund Schedule, amending policy 2.2.30 in the capital improvements element, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody wishing to testify?
No, Mayor.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, number 2.
Ordinance number 2020-56, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to the residential replat process, amending Chapter 58 Orlando City Code to establish consistent review criteria and submittal requirements for residential replats, revert to original plat, and modification of standard applications, providing for severability, codification, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Madam Clerk,
No speakers.
discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 3, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2020-59, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the Orlando Corporate Center Plan Development Zoning District, providing for amended development conditions for parcel 13A, generally located south of Marketplace Drive, east of South Goldenrod Road, and north of Lee Vista Boulevard, providing that prior ordinances still in effect, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Stewart. Madam Clerk,
No speakers.
discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 4.
Ordinance number 2020-60, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, designating certain land generally located east of Narcoossee Road between State Road 528 and Dowden Road and west of the Randall Park Plan Development, and comprised of 536 acres of land, more or less, as the Torrey Preserved Plan Development District, providing a development plan and special land development regulations of the Plan Development District, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Madam Clerk.
We have Erica Hughes. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Erica Hughes with VHB 225 East Robinson, Orlando, Florida 32801. On behalf of the owner, I'm available for any questions, and we concur with staff's recommendation.
Questions? Okay, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Commissioner Gray, you're going to let some other people have a turn. That's nice.
With pleasure.
Number 5, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2020-61, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, designating certain land generally located on the south side of Stonewall Jackson Road, east of South Summeron Boulevard, and west of Pablo Lane Road, and comprised of 1.41 acres of land, more or less, as the Planned Development District with the Summeron Boulevard and Airport support noise overlay districts, providing a development plan and special land development regulations of the planned development district, providing for severability, correction of Scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Stewart. Madam Clerk?
We have Becky Wilson here if there's any questions.
Any questions for Becky? Nope. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So the motion carries. Okay, number 6.
Ordinance number 2020-62, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, extending the 2-year time frame in Section 65.477 related to the 180-day waiting period for demolitions within the Lake Davis Greenwood area, providing a 6-month extension of the 2-year time frame, providing legislative findings, and for non-codification, correction of Scrivener's error, severability, and an effective date.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Madam Clerk?
No speakers.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Okay, 7 and 8 relate to the development of a project called Baraposa Grove, which is a proposed mixed-use senior affordable housing development between South Osceola and Lake Avenues. Item 7 is a request to amend the Orlando Lutheran Towers Plan Development Ordinance. Item 8 is a request to rezone the property located between South Osceola and Lake. Both of these agenda items relate to the quasi-judicial appeal that is on the agenda after the ordinances, so I'm going to defer these 2 ordinances until after we've done the quasi-judicial hearing. So we'll go ahead and hear the last ordinance, number 9, and then we'll go to the quasi-judicial, and then we'll come back to these 2 ordinances. So number 9, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2020-65, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to motorized scooters, amending Chapter 10 Orlando City Code, entitled Bicycles, Scooters, Micromobility Devices, and Bicycle Paths, to extend the pilot program for scooter sharing services and to authorize operation of seated scooters on sidewalks under the same regulations as other scooters, providing legislative findings, definitions, penalties, and for severability, codification, correction of Scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill. Who was the second?
Stewart.
Motion second by Commissioner Stewart. Madam Clerk, is there anyone that wants to testify?
Yes, we have a Dennis Burgess. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Dennis Burgess, 3017 Saddlebrook Court, Popka, 32703. Friends, I respectfully rise in vehement opposition to the proposed extension of the scooter pilot program and to the program as a whole. Prior to the scooter's arrival, I researched similar programs around the country, then prayed we here would not encounter troubles many other towns have experienced. From a cease and desist order, City of San Francisco gave 3 of our vendors, Bird, Lime, and Spin, to overall bans in Seattle, West Hollywood, Portland, Tucson, Nashville, and elsewhere. Troubles abounded, and they're now here. Scooter users have claimed for themselves the rights of pedestrians to ride on our sidewalks, the rights of cyclists to travel on our bike lanes, and rights of motorists to use the streets as vehicular traffic does. Scooter users believe, and I contend incorrectly so, that they can ride the scooters wherever they wish, discard them wherever they choose, creating what some municipalities have dubbed sidewalk litter. The photos I've submitted for your review today are but a few examples of this and represent some of the nearly 800 photos of improperly parked scooters I've personally taken and submitted as complaints to the scooter vendors. Downtown Orlando overnight is often a scary place, folks, with pedestrians jumping for the grass or bushes to avoid unyielding scooters and motorists swerving to avoid lines of scooters riding in the wrong direction down the middle of Roslyn Avenue. So what about the rest of us, the non-scooter users? What about the elderly, the visually impaired, or otherwise physically challenged who must navigate the minefields of abandoned scooters? We deserve better. I recognize a report from a scooter user survey attached to today's agenda, and it's clear scooter users like riding scooters. One could also assert, however, that a survey of smokers would reveal that they enjoyed cigarettes. This building is, and most others are, smoke-free though, stemming not from a hatred of smokers, mind you, but rather from policy decisions that the common good trumps the pleasures of individuals when community health concerns exist. For the better part of the last 8 months, scooter vendors have shown themselves to be wholly unable or unwilling to comply with the most basic aspects of the ordinance germane here, which based on research I've done stands as one of the weakest such ordinances in America. Scooters zoom past us carrying riders who aren't yet teenagers, and often 2 per scooter, well below the minimum age of 18 established for rentals. Scooter removal and relocation issues exist, and I once photographed a scooter abandoned in Lake Eola Park that didn't move for 12 consecutive nights. Geofencing, shaky at best, with scooters which do shut off, becoming sidewalk litter in Lake Eola Park, while the sit-down scooters from Wheels have no restrictions at all and cruise the park unfettered. Coincidentally, and as the attached survey indicates, scooters change hands several times each day. There's only been one single time during this pandemic that I witnessed a vendor wiping a scooter, once. It's no surprise then that the age of scooter riders parallels the age group hardest hit by COVID-19 recently, according to Orange County Mayor Jerry Deming's recent report. Again, we deserve better. Indeed, one would have to consider it imprudent then to provide relief to scooter vendors for losses incurred during our pandemic when their record of compliance with the very ordinance establishing their program is so poor. I urge you all to vote no today on the proposed pilot extension. I wish you good health, Mr. Mayor. May God bless this council that continues to do the people's work. May He continue to bless and keep safe the great men and women of the Orlando Police Department, specifically the Kilo Alpha, Kilo Bravo Midnight Patrols. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, is there additional citizens?
No, Mayor, that's all.
Mr. Sheehan?
Thank you, Mayor Dyer. And I usually don't like to be the one to vote against something that I think is progressive or adding to that last mile of transportation. But this has just been a nightmare in my district. We can't walk our dogs in our neighborhoods. These things litter all over the place. I was fine with the bicycles and scooters and everything like that when they had to actually return them to a docking station. That took care of all the problems that we had. I've got folks in wheelchairs. I've got elderly who are constantly being nearly run over by these folks. I think the only reason we haven't had any fatalities or any serious injuries is because everybody's having to jump out of the way. And I just don't think it's right that people have to jump out of the way. Elderly people have to be, abused by these folks who simply don't want to follow the rules. And I thought they were cool at first. I thought it would be interesting and a way to, to see how folks get around. But I've also witnessed many times to more than one person on the scooters. It's not safe. There's absolutely no way to contact. I've had them left in my neighborhood many times. There's supposed to be contact information. and how to contact the scooters. There's not. They simply don't care, and they litter everything. I can't. Mr. Burgess put it perfectly. It's simply sidewalk litter, and it's not safe. And as a matter of fact, on Halloween night, they left one in the middle of Orange Avenue at a crosswalk. I mean, how in the heck does that happen? So I am voting a vehement no, because these aren't safe. And if the scooter folks cared enough about our safety of our citizens as they do to make a buck, then we wouldn't be here today, because they would put some scooter corrals out so that we could replace them, we could put them away properly, and we wouldn't have these dangerous situations. And even with people in wheelchairs, they cannot get, it's hard enough for them to get around the problems that we have on our sidewalks, let alone these things all over the place. So I'm, like I say, a vehement no. I hope they get their act together. I kind of doubt it. But I just think this is ridiculous, and it's one of the worst things we've ever done. Thank you.
Right, further discussion? Commissioner Ortiz?
Thank you, Mayor.
I did have a request.
Mayor, I was just wondering, I don't know about all the particulars on how the companies are dealing with this, but are they picking them up in the evenings to charge them, or, and picking them up from the different locations where?
They're supposed to do two things: pick them up to be charged, but also pick them up from locations where they were abandoned and they're not supposed to be.
And I know that for a fact, because I have one here at Park of the Americas, and we called the company to pick it up, and they said, because I guess somebody took the handle out, they decided they didn't want it. So can we give them a chance to see if they go ahead and start doing these things, picking them up, and then doing the proper thing? If not, we'll come up with stricter or getting them off of our business. But maybe alerting them about how we feel about this to see if they straighten up.
Okay, let me hear from the other commissioners. There's a couple more in the queue. Commissioner Hill and then Commissioners.
Thank you, Mayor. And I, even though I am voting to approve it, I agree with Mr. Burgess about it being sidewalk litter. I am just as concerned, I think, as this whole council with the COVID-19 sanitizing piece of it, because I haven't saw anyone going around similar to what we do here in the city of Orlando at our bus stops, have a person going around and sanitizing the light poles and all those things. So if that can happen. And I am a little bit more, would like to know more about the geofencing. And you do see these things just slowing about throughout the sidewalks. But I'm hoping as we move forward with this that we put an RFP out for one company. I think these are some of the problems we're running into because it's a pilot program. We gave an opportunity to multiple vendors to put their product out on our streets. I think it's now time that, I think this is a great program, but I think it should just be ran by one company or one entity so that we'll have a contact person, so it'll be somewhat condensed versus being so broad with multiple vendors out there. So I don't know where we're at with that as of yet. As we talk about the expansion, are we talking about having a primary vendor to service this particular need as we become a more progressive city? Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, that's certainly something to be discussed. That's not what this particular ordinance does, however. Commissioner Stewart?
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. I concur a lot with both commissioners, but I am more concerned about the data that we received. So the information I've got shows we had 624 responses, and so the responses on the scooter survey appear to be only those 624 responses that came in. And I'm not sure with the way that electronics is working and the way that they are actually doing their work, that 624 responses out of 382,000 trips is adequate. So I'd like to see some more data from the vendors, and I would recommend, although not many, but we're trying to extend this beyond January, I think 21st. Is that correct? 6 more months. And it appears that we're going to have another meeting between now and then. I think we've kind of sent a signal to our vendor to please get here in front of us and get some of these questions answered before I think this council would be completely confident to move forward. But that's just my recommendation.
I think I hear enough concern in terms of getting additional information and whether we want to change up the manner in which we're doing this, that if there's a motion to defer, I would accept that.
I motion to
Second.
I motion to defer since I made the motion to
Okay.
approve.
Well, then I will second Commissioner Hill then. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. I'm going to take that. Commissioner Hill made the original motion, so let her make the motion to defer. The second was by, who's the original second?
You mean the original first?
The first will be last and the last will be first.
It's all good. Y'all take it. I just want to get some action on it. It's all good.
It don't matter, Commissioner Sheehan, that's fine.
Okay, motion to defer. All in favor indicate so by saying aye.
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 All right, show that motion carrying, and this is deferred to another meeting. Okay, let's see. We're then to the quasi-judicial hearing, which is a recommended order from a hearing officer in case number QJ 2020-001. It involves an appeal from the MPP's decision to recommend approval of an amendment to the Orlando Lutheran Towers PD and a rezoning and master plan for the development of the Baraposa Senior Affordable Housing Project. The petitioner in this case is Mr. Joel Thaird. The applicant is represented by Ms. Rebecca Wilson. But let's begin with background on the case from our planning manager, Elizabeth Dang, and then we'll hear from the petition and the applicant if they are present today. Elizabeth?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Elizabeth Dang, and I'm here to present the staff position statement on the quasi-judicial appeal for the Baraposa Groves project. So this project is located at several addresses on the south side of Mariposa Street and the north side of East Jackson Street between South Osceola Avenue and Lake Avenue. It's 0.69 acres. So there are several parts to this request. The first is a rezoning application for the Orlando Lutheran Towers PD amendment, and this would amend the PD to remove two parcels, 410 and 416 Mariposa Street, from the PD boundaries and to establish a higher maximum impervious surface ratio for the remaining properties, which would be 0.94. The second part of the application is a rezoning request for a new PD called Mariposa Grove, as well as an associated master plan. So it takes those initial two parcels from OLT and adds additional parcels to create a proposal for a 138-unit, 14-story mixed-use senior affordable housing development with 18,500 square feet of ground floor commercial and amenity space, as well as a parking garage. So this project was reviewed by the Municipal Planning Board on June 23rd. They voted to defer these items to the July 21st meeting, at which point they recommended approval. At that time, the appellant filed a timely appeal for the quasi-judicial hearing request, and that hearing was held on September 24th. On October 12th, the hearing officer provided a recommended order, which is approval subject to the conditions provided consistent with the MPB. So this map here shows the future land use of the property, which is residential high intensity, and that matches the surrounding properties as well. This map shows the zoning property, and again, you can see the two parcels on the northwest portion of the site moving from the Orlando Lutheran Towers PD into what will now become the Mariposa Groves PD.
This aerial photo shows the Star Tower to the east, the Orlando Lutheran Towers to the west, and City Tower to the north. Or excuse me, Camden Thornton Park to the north. So this is the site plan for the subject property, the 14-story building. It includes 138 multifamily units, which are proposed for senior affordable housing. It's proposed to be 170 feet tall with ground floor commercial and amenity space, as well as a parking garage. These elevations show the proposed building site, east and north. These renderings gives you some idea of the context of the site. You can see the Star Tower outline to the far left of the building at 200 feet tall, then this building at 170 feet, and the Orlando Lutheran building at about 5 stories. So again, the request for the Orlando Lutheran Towers PD amendment is to remove 0.22 acres from the 3.55 acre PD site, which reduces the maximum development program to 666 units as allowed by the 200 unit per acre maximum. 640 units are already built and there's no more vacant land, so that would make the PD essentially built out. And the other request is to change the maximum impervious surface ratio to 94%, where code normally requires 85%. The Mariposa Groves PD request is for a density bonus to the maximum of 200 units per acre, which results in a total of 138 units. This allows a maximum height of 170 feet through the PD rather than a conditional use application. A parking reduction of 28% to allow 156 parking spaces where 215 is the minimum required, and also to increase the impervious surface ratio to 92% where 85% is the maximum. And finally, to allow a front yard setback of 0 feet and a maximum of 5 feet on the front yard and a western side yard setback of 0 feet. So the main topic that came up for discussion during the quasi-judicial hearing is how the city defines density. So this definition here comes from the city code, and it talks about the number of dwelling units permitted per acre of land, where you divide that by the net area of the building site or development site. That permitted density is measured after platting, but before any additional right-of-way dedication on an already platted lot. So that definition does not include a sentence describing how to measure permitted density on a lot that is not already platted. And the city does routinely allow for undeveloped right-of-way, such as a paper street, to be included in those density calculations. So in other words, the city applies the definition to unplatted property in the same way as platted property. Excuse me. So the legal description from the 2006 PD amendment is 3.55 acres. That includes the area in red. You see that vertical north-south stripe, which is 7 feet of frontage on Lake Avenue. You also see the red box, which is 0.23 acres excuse me, of land in the Mariposa Street right-of-way. And that was, at that time, abandoned by the city from 2003 and became part of the PD. In 2008, that right-of-way reverted back to the city, but the legal description for the PD was not changed, and it remained at, excuse me, 3.55 acres. For the OLTPD, the unplatted former right-of-way acreage was included in that 2006 legal description because it was owned by the developer at that time. That continued through 2013, even though the area was deeded back to the city as right-of-way. The 2014 PD amendment specifically identified that PD development program as 710 units, which is the maximum of 200 units per acre. The 2020 PD amendment proposal that's before you today relies on all of those previous density calculations, and there haven't been any changes. So if there was a concern, it could have been addressed in 2013. So this did get heard by the hearing officer on September 24th, according to the city code for quasi-judicial appeal. There are a lengthy list of findings by the hearing officer. I won't go through these in detail, but he really did lay out all the various amendments and changes over time in 2003, 2006, 2007, 2013, and 2014. But the important point here is that that's where these changes end, back in 2014. So the hearing officer found that the facts are not in dispute, and the sole issue is whether removal of the 0.22 acres creates a violation of the density limitations. So per the city's definition, the 0.26 acres of vacated right-of-way would result in 3.33 acres if the OLT-PD, if parcel C2 is removed, which would result in a maximum density of 666 units. So the city code definition allows dedication of right-of-way to determine calculating density, but it later did revert back to becoming right-of-way. So the hearing officer's recommendation is that the city's own interpretation of its ordinance must be accepted unless the interpretation is unreasonable or clearly erroneous. The city's interpretation is not unreasonable or clearly erroneous. So the recommendation is approval consistent with the MPB recommendation. So today the City Council could approve or deny the hearing officer's recommendation. If approved, there are 2 zoning ordinances on this agenda. If denied, the applicant would need to submit for a new project. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay, are there questions for Elizabeth? I don't see any in the chat.
Mayor, I have one.
Okay, section.
Mayor, I have one. Commissioner Gray. Just curious, Elizabeth.
Commissioner Gray.
I'm just curious with the setback at 0 on the western boundary, what was the logic there?
There are some existing trees on the south side of the property. See these trees right here?
Uh-huh.
So the idea was to push, because this is a through lot, to push the building as far north as possible to be able to preserve those trees. And then on the western boundary, there is an access driveway on the neighboring property which allows for a reduced setback there.
Oh,
got it.
Funky.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Other questions for Elizabeth? Okay, pursuant to section 2.209 of the Orlando Code, council will not entertain comments from the public. However, council may allow staff and each party to make an oral presentation. Historically, we've given each party 5 minutes. So we'll allow that today, and I'd like to call on the petitioner, Mr. Joel Thaird. Then we'll hear from the applicant. Is Mr. Thaird there?
Please use the button. Yep, there you go. Please use the button. Yep.
My name is Darren Elkind. My professional address is 142 East New York Avenue, DeLand, Florida. It's my pleasure to be before you this afternoon. Ms. Dang presented something new this afternoon that had not been presented at the hearing or argued at the hearing. And she said that your code, the code which is at issue in this case, does not provide a definition for how you measure density on something that hasn't, that does not exist, on roads that don't exist. And what she said was, it was in that overhead, it says the city routinely applies density to paper streets that are vacated. This is not a paper street. This road has been there since sometime around 1907. We can all walk over there, drive on the road, or walk on the road. It is not a paper street. The 0.22 acres of property that is being removed from the OLTPD is currently zoned for open space. It was designated as open space when the 420 Camden project was approved to cover an entire city block. My clients tell me it was really part of the agreement with the neighborhood to allow that massive scale of the 420 project. Some of the folks who bought in the Star Tower on the west side bought it relying on what the zoning was, that that part of the property could only be used for open space, and now it's being changed. But let's discuss specifically the petition that is before you. Your law that was cited to you, section 66-200, the definition of density, is clear and easy to understand. It boils down to one simple issue that was placed squarely before the hearing officer. Can a public street, again, it's over there, I can drive on it right now, it's been there for over a century, be included to determine the total number of units a private developer can build? It's a simple issue. The sole issue in this appeal, and the sole issue that was before the hearing officer, is whether this was part of an already platted lot. And I want to read to you the uncontroverted evidence, the only evidence, because the evidence was not in dispute in this case, before the hearing officer. I have to take my finger off the button for a minute to do it, though. This was the testimony from your, Ms. Dang, your planning division manager, who, by the way, does a wonderful job. It's been a pleasure. She's a consummate professional and a well-qualified lady. But this is the question and answer, and I'm reading it because it's so important. My question for Ms. Dang, the 0.26 acres that we're talking about, was it ever in a platted lot at any time since 1907? Answer, it was not. But it was privately held property, much like any other vacated right-of-way that we have paper streets all over the city. Again, this is not a paper street. This is a real street. It's different. Question, I understand. I just want, I'm not badgering you, I just want to be very clear on the record. Your answer to the question of whether the 0.26 acres of right-of-way, the answer to that question is no. It was never part of any platted lot, correct? Answer, right. That is clear, unequivocal, and uncontroverted. Those are the facts. Notwithstanding that testimony and those uncontroverted facts, your hearing officer came up with a reason in which he found that the property was part of an already platted lot. See, there was no discussion at the hearing, there was no argument from the city, no discussion by the hearing officer about what the city's interpretation was. It was simply that they found that it was included, and it's been that way for a long time. All of the findings that are in the hearing officer's order are findings that both myself on behalf of the petitioner and the applicant and their attorney agreed to. There are no disputes on the facts. But he has one sentence which was cited in Ms. Dang's overhead, which was not argued by anybody at the hearing, wasn't in any written brief presented at the hearing, was not discussed by the hearing officer at the hearing, but it was in his recommended order. And he says essentially that the street, Baraposa and Jackson Street, when they were vacated, became part of an already platted lot. He gives one sentence, his entire ruling, Gives one sentence to it. And I submit to you the reason, and he cites no authority. He cites no authority for that conclusion, no legal authority. And I submit to you the reason no legal authority is cited, because there is none. In fact, as set forth in my exceptions, the law is quite to the contrary. There is a statute on vacated rights-of-way and how they are treated. That statute does not say that they become part of the platted lot. They are owned by abutting lot owners, but they do not become part of a platted lot, and I could go on and on about all the horrible results that come if you were to make that finding. Now, this is a situation where the facts are not in dispute, where the city's interpretation of its ordinance, in this particular case, which is a very unique situation, it doesn't happen. I asked at the hearing, do you have any others? This has never happened before. But this is one where it's clearly erroneous. Sorry. This is a situation, I understand, where we can go to the court and have the courts address it, but we ought not have to. In closing, I'd say, as I've had to discuss with my children over the years, sometimes doing the legal thing doesn't always feel like doing the right thing. You, as a city, have been promised senior affordable housing, and you must want to approve it. It would be disappointing if you didn't want to approve it. You should be doing everything within your power to try to find places for senior affordable housing. But you're the government. You took an oath, I assume, to uphold the law of the city of Orlando. And you don't have the luxury of doing that which you really want to. You must uphold the law. And I commend to you, if you look at this in good faith and in good conscience. I know the more difficult decision is to reject the hearing officer's recommended order and approve a senior affordable housing project. But you have to violate your own law to do so. If you want to, you have absolute prerogative to change your law. Your city is, I don't need to tell you, you can change it. And if you want to, do it and we'll go away. That's your prerogative. But you haven't done it. We need you to follow the law the way it's written. Thank you.
You're muted, Mayor.
Yep. Sorry, my dog was barking. I had to mute myself. Ms. Wilson, representing the applicant.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Thumbs up if you can hear me. See, okay. My name is Rebecca Wilson, here on behalf of the property owner and developer. We agree with the staff report and its analysis. We agree with the Municipal Planning Board recommendation, who in fact heard this specific argument twice from the petitioner and made sure that they understood the recommendation that they made. And we also agree with the hearing officer's recommended order. He took extensive testimony from your planning director, along with reviewing the city code and the previous approvals in the Orlando Lutheran Tower, what we just call OLT plan development. As mentioned, the OLT plan development was last amended in 2014 to have a maximum density of 710 dwelling units. We are not asking for any increase to that density that was approved in 2014, and such approvals were never appealed by Star Tower or any of the other neighbors. We're simply asking to remove 0.22 acres owned by my client. It's known as the C2 parcel in the OLTPD, and combine that with 3 other parcels that my client has purchased in order to build 138 senior affordable apartment units. So that means that we're taking 44 units from the approved 710, which is the amount that is allowed by the underlying future land use for our size property. None of the C2 units have ever been transferred anywhere, nor are we trying to count any of the right-of-way in our calculations. In addition, the OLT plan development, as Elizabeth said, without C2, could be developed with a total of 666 units, of which there are currently 640 built. While petitioner has done its best to create confusion with its assertions, he would have you go back to 2014, find your staff and your city council approval of the units, which, by the way, were used to build City Tower, that all of that was in error, and then strip my client of its property rights and give the C2 units to City Tower. We agree with the MPB and the hearing officer that your approval in 2014 was a valid interpretation of your code, and that the removal of C2 does not negatively impact OLT's unit count. We request that you accept the hearing officer's order and adopt the 2 plan development ordinances today on first reading. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there questions for Ms. Wilson? Okay, commissioners. Commissioner Sheehan, do you have a motion?
Yes, Mayor, I do. I'd like to make a motion to approve the hearing officer's recommended order for the quasi-judicial appeal.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that brings us back to, let's revert back to first readings. Number 7. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2020-63, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the Orlando Lutheran Towers Plan Development Zoning Ordinance to amend the density, increase the maximum impervious surface ratio, and to remove approximately 0.22 acres of land, 410 and 416 Mariposa Street, from the Plan Development Zoning District, such land being generally located on the south side of Mariposa Street, between South Osceola Avenue and Lake Avenue, providing a conforming legal description, providing for severability, permit disclaimer, correction of Scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Do you have anybody that wants to testify on this matter, Madam Clerk?
Yes, we have listed Darren Elkine.
Thank you again. This is Darren Elkine. I will be brief. As was explained at the MPB hearing, I set forth in great detail why legally you could not amend the OLTPD to remove this 0.22 acre parcel of property. I understand from your last item that you don't agree with that. However, I also, and many of my clients presented at the, and many folks who were not my clients, presented at the MPB hearing an explanation as to why you should not, although you, if you could, why you should not do that. The property that is being removed from the OLTPD, it's only 0.22 acres of property. I You know, it's a matter of public record. Ask the applicant, how much did they pay for that piece of property? That piece of property in the current zoning says it can only be used for open space. Staff actually wrote in a staff report back in 13 or 14 that they wanted the owner to develop the property, put not turf, but grass in, sod it, and make it a dog run, make it some sort of a passive park. When folks who bought in Star Tower and paid, I'm sure, dearly for it, for views to the west on that side of the building, if they were doing their due diligence, and at least one realtor testified at the MPB hearing that some of them did, and they would explain to folks that this is the zoning. You can go look at the zoning document, and that piece is designated as open space. It was explained to me, and it was discussed by at least one dissenting member of the MPB, that when the 420 Camden project was completed, I don't practice in the Orlando area, so I know nothing about it, but this was the discussion at the MPB hearing, that part of the deal made with the government was that when the 420 building was allowed to occupy an entire city block, that at least this little bit of space would be preserved as open space, and that's how the zoning was established. Now somebody comes along and acquires that piece of property knowing full well that it's zoned for open space, not for a building, and they ask you to change it. And that wasn't the deal. Can you as the government change that deal? Of course you can, but you shouldn't. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion?
Mayor, we also have Becky Wilson, who's available.
Only if you have questions.
Questions? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. And number 8, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2020-64, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, rezoning certain land generally located on the south side of Baraposa Street between South Osceola Avenue and Lake Avenue and comprised of 0.69 acres of land, more or less, from planned development with a traditional city overlay district in part and high-intensity mixed residential office with a traditional city overlay district in part to planned development with a traditional city overlay district, providing a development plan and special land development regulations of the planned development district, providing for severability, correction of
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan. Who was the second? Commissioner Hill?
Yes.
All right. Madam Clerk, is there anybody that wants to testify?
Yes, we also have Darren Alkine for this ordinance.
He says he's not speaking for this ordinance.
Okay, and we also have Becky Wilson if there's any questions.
Questions, discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, that completes our official agenda for the day. Madam Clerk, would you let me know when we are ready to handle